Hi there. We are now pursuing and showcasing potatoes and other tasty foods in the 2000s. And this is just one of a few posts that we're putting up on the Potato Museum show to chronicle our journey.
So, in the 2000s, we reached a global audience for our exhibits with the potatomuseum.com. You can see it over there on the left, and Food Museum Online. We did all this internet things. We were pioneers in that while continuing our educational programs, collecting and research. And so you can see the Potato Museum. I'm just going to go through here, show you the content, some of the variety of things that we got involved with, and the exhibits and programs and issues. Hi, here's a little bit more about the two websites that we ran for many years. New versions of them still exist. One of them contained the National Museum of Food and Farm, which was a proposal that we made, and we created basically a museum, the National Museum of Food and Farm for the U.S. online. It doesn't exist actually yet, but it's online. Look at this material that we have here. This was an introduction to food heritage, which is another huge subject. And we talked about food places that have been preserved, that are still exist, famous processing sites, seafood, all of this. Then, this is a section I was talking about of subjects that we exhibits online. You can see the volume.
Rice and
You can see the volume of
licorice
subjects that we did. Then I did eating in New Mexico. This was also an online exhibit. Look at the extent of it. This was all online for years about New Mexico food history and historic sites.
and this became a book.
Yeah, this became
In fact,
three books.
3 books.
3 books, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All available on Amazon, people. All
Yeah.
available.
And then you see the volume of this. This is a whole thing about the special exhibits that we used to do. And we were involved with school lunch reform and obesity crisis. And and then all these other special exhibits. Now I moved to Florida, got totally immersed in Florida food history. And it came out of this was Eat Spinellis and another book in the works. And just as an example of what we're doing, I came across this woman in Tampa, Lily Aguero, who was doing these devil crabs. Devil crab is definitely a tradition in Tampa.
What does that mean, double crab?
Well, you know, deviled
Deviled
eggs. Deviled eggs, yeah, deviled eggs.
Sorry.
So I covered her, reported on her and her efforts to revive a tradition. So that's what we've been doing with these 2 websites.
And are we exhausted?
Yes. So the content that you just saw, the volume of paper and all that ended up in these books. These are just some of the books that I wrote based on the content and the research we did that was on those websites. I just want to say, for those of us whose lives were mostly pre-internet and everything was on paper, sometime in the late 2000s, I made those photocopies you just saw of the content of those websites. I wanted to view them on paper. I got tired of always looking at them on screen. So the web saves trees, but tires my eyes. And for a variety of reasons, the Food Museum Online evolved into a more manageable and less expensive to maintain site. So let's move on here. So in spring of 2000, I was invited to make a presentation. At the last minute, the presenter that they had at this local elementary school couldn't make it. So at the last minute, just a couple of days before, I was invited, and they said, yeah, so I can do it. So fortunately, I had these really big props because I didn't realize that the audience was going to be 300 to 400 elementary school kids all sitting on the floor in a gymnasium. So I arrived, fortunately, I had my big props, and we reenacted the Spanish coming to America, bringing things from the old world, horses and all sorts of food sort of things, and then so we can see these kids with their cardboard boat coming and going, and the kids in the audience had items like corn from the Americas, and the kids on the other side had little watermelon toys, and so it was a very interactive program. It's quite successful, and the teachers came up to me afterward and said, "That's the best program we've ever seen." Not only were the kids completely engaged, but so were all the adults. The audiences that we've been doing educational programs are not usually that large. They're usually much closer and hands-on things. You can see some of the activities that we've been doing with kids. These are things that I developed over the years with my own students and then adapted them for these programs. Always took objects from our collection and let kids handle them. So this one, what you want to tell about this, Meredith?
I guess this is the math one.
Yeah.
We wanted the kids to see how big a French fry, frite, they could create, and that's what you see on the far right.
Yeah. So
Measuring how many pieces of potato would make the biggest frite.
Yeah, so we used to say, here's a potato, and we would measure the potato, and then we'd say, how can we turn this potato into 2 feet long? And then, of course, that we would French fry it and all that. Here's another one. What will we do here?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, so
I
we would.
never understood this
Yeah,
one.
so we would juice the potato to show the kids and audiences what a potato consists of. And of course, you can see that most of it is water, and then some of it is fiber, and then the other part would be the starch. And so the starch is that on the right-hand side, you can see that little white stuff. So it's showing the ingredients of a potato. We also always did lots of art projects, especially printing, potato prints there. So math and science and cultural awareness in our programs. For instance, on the left, these kids made graphs of their favorite ice cream flavors. And then I had them line up to make a physical graph of the kids. So you can see there on the left would be.
What is in the graph?
Well, see, so we asked the kids what their favorite ice cream flavor was.
Yeah.
It would be chocolate. You can see it over the left, upper top left.
Yeah.
So 7 or 8 kids said chocolate. And then 1 or 2 maybe said peach or something like that. So then we had the kids on the left all lined up, equivalent to how many kids like chocolate. This kid maybe likes vanilla, these kids. So it's physically graphing and math.
Okay.
On this side is cultural awareness. These kids made little banana boats. That is a tradition in Thailand at a certain holiday, and then they all floated away. This was one of our favorite things. So we would have explained how popcorn works. Popcorn is full of moisture, and as you heat it up, the water turns to vapor, and the vapor expands and explodes, and the kernel turns inside out. So
we exploded this, didn't we?
Yeah, so
in classrooms.
Yeah. So we would have the kids. We would explain that concept to them, and then we'd have the kids all upper left corner. You can see the kids all crowded together like their little kernels with their little moisture, water content. And then we would say, "We've heated you up," and then the kids would all jump up and burst up, reenacting the popping of the corn. So then we took that further. We had them in a big circle. We put. They all had protective eyewear, and we would turn the popper on. The popper would be in the middle of the circle with the top off, and these that would pop all over the place, and then the kids would measure how far the furthest kernel popped. So this is popcorn science and math concept skills. All of this we built into our programs. Something at the end of all of our programs also was I had this gut or digestive system, and we would take it apart and stretch it across the room. So an adult male my size would have a gut that would be, I don't know, I think 21 feet long or something like that. Many times we were doing educational programs for teachers, and the math skills and the science things activities we were just showing you, we would teach the
the teachers to do this in these programs. And you can see on the right some of the comments of the teachers about these programs. This got written up in the Albuquerque Tribune when we did a whole full day of this, and you can see we had a kind of a rug on the floor of the continents, and the activity was for in teams they would have to figure out where to put these toys. So the peanuts would come from the Western Hemisphere, and the squashes and all that would be Eastern Hemisphere. So that was a really fun hands-on activity. We also use sugar packets to practice and teach other principles, and just hope that the teachers would be able to adapt and be more hands-on and use food in their classroom teaching. Here's an example of an all-day program that we conducted with teachers. This is a flyer that we used to show the various programs that are popular programs. Planet Potato, of course, was one of the most popular, and then you have chocolate, chilies, corn, and more. Another one of our popular programs we took all over the place. So you want to talk about these people?
Yeah, these people found us online, and they were book publishers, and they asked us if we would be interested in doing a book about the museums of France. They
Yeah.
had just been to a sort of obscure food museum
Yeah.
in France, and so that set us off on a wonderful journey.
Yeah, look at that. We went all around France. Each one of those blue dots is a place we stopped. It would be a food museum or a heritage site. Let's have Meredith talk about this.
Hey, published in 2005 was Gastronomie, the food museums and heritage sites in France. We were fortunate enough to be invited to do a 6.5-week tour of France, and we loved every minute of it. We ate, we slept, we whatever. We were hosted by French Tourism,
Yeah.
the publisher Yves Bellew
Yeah, it
and
says-
Carol Kitchell.
We wanted to acknowledge here the idea for this book was born when Yves Bellew and Carol Kitchell of Bunker Hill Publishing zipped through the Musée du Jambon in some unpronounceable name in France, taken with the idea that if there's a ham museum exists, then food museums must abound in France. They found the food museum on the internet. I've been doing that for several years, and asked us to write about the food museums of France. So we want to thank them for all that. And these are the other credits. So we worked in 2004. We spent a lot of time researching all of this, contacting various tourist authorities, and we started in Paris, rented a car, and went down the center east of the country, and then over to the southeast, and then you can see it around, and then we came back up the center west. And this book is my photos of the places we went. These are eco museums. These are actual museums. There's a foie gras museum.
And I wrote the whole book.
You wrote-
And
This is all-
edited it, although Ib and Carol edited
This was
it
all about
at the end.
This is a museum about prunes.
We had a wonderful time.
And look at this. There's the Jambon Museum. And what happened was, and look at this, Sally, who was it? Did all the maps. Sorry, I don't remember her name. We'll get it later. But heavily illustrated, and we had a great time. And what happened was, we were so well fed that sometimes we would pull into a first class hotel, and they'd be waiting. The chef would be waiting for us, and
I think it only happened once, and it was me. And I couldn't go downstairs and eat. So you went downstairs and ate something.
I think that's right.
But I had been fed and fed and fed.
Yeah.
And we were driving.
Yeah, so
Well, I was doing all the driving. Tom was doing all the navigating. We did not have Google Maps. We did not have any of that stuff.
no, it was
So we would
old-fashioned.
come to a rond-point, as they call them, and we would go around and around and around and around until
Right.
Tom figured out which way to go.
Yeah, and so I keep saying, go around again, go
Yeah.
around again. So we had this huge map book. I really wished that I'd had this one, which was much more compact, but I didn't know about this one, or this was published later. But again, it was all old-fashioned navigation with actual maps. So that's a little bit about this. It
It's
was,
still available. You can buy it. There's nothing else like it.
and we got really good credits from the. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say. So we got to one time in a little town that had a museum about, they had collected all these old kitchen utensils. It seemed like the whole town was out waiting for us as we got there, and we went in. They were very proud to show us all around. It's in the book. And what happened was this one person said, French people would never do this book, go around France writing about our food museums and heritage sites. It takes an American to do that. It takes Americans to do
And so
that.
we did. And we did.
So, yeah, we've already shown you some of this. So we're just going to flip through some of the sections. But here's the Parmentier, the sections about the potato that were in there. And we came across that they're making wine out of chili peppers down in the south. This guy made a special bouillabaisse for us, the chef, and we stayed with these people on a goat farm. And so, we became knights of some kind of
Cognac
fraternity,
company
cognac,
or
yeah.
something.
Got the medals and the certificate. There's the subject index and all that. So, also from the internet, we were found by a community in Italy, Cetica. You can see how remote it is, up in the mountains in the eastern part of Tuscany. And they wanted us to come help celebrate their heritage red potato. And you can see potatoes grow in the mountainous areas, and this was very much a mountainous area. And so we did. And they had just recently, after several years of study in university, making sure that this was a unique heritage variety, they got certified on that. And they brought us over to celebrate this designation. We did a slideshow presentation about the history of the potato and had great meals. They can see we were with the chefs. I think it was rabbit and some sort of special sausage, and there's the potatoes. I learned later that the Cetica potatoes were an ingredient in a beer, and so that's something to look forward to. This is the guy who's head of the consortium that was promoting all this, and he showed us the potatoes and gave us a bag to take back. Another bag that we came across was wackos. Some people say we're wacko about all the potato. This is a wonderful brand. So we got back to Florence, and there we are on the train. What about Florence? What's special about it, Meredith?
Well, that's where we met. We were studying in Florence during our junior year. So there you have it. We got to know Florence very well. Firenze.
Yeah, so we moved to Europe in 1973. This was after we finished grad school and all that. The USS, the France, right? And when we docked in Le Havre on our way to Brussels, we watched them unloading potatoes. I thought that was kind of a sign because this was
And you were going to take up a teaching job at the International School of Brussels, and I was working as a journalist.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
where
was
the
quite
Potato
a
Museum,
great trip.
where the Potato Museum all started.
Whoa!
So in 2006, we returned to Brussels.
When did we leave Brussels? I think it was
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we returned to Brussels to have a family reunion at friends at Fred and Rosvita Gans' house. And here we are having a meal with my sister and brother-in-law. And then Fred and Rosvita spent the holidays at our house in Albuquerque, and we had a family reunion at their house. We also went down, of course, to the popular Brussels restaurant area, and we had more moule frite. And there's two of our favorite restaurants, Chez Leon and Vincent. Vincent's are fascinating because it's divided into two parts. One part of the restaurant is all about meat and the Ardennes region, the mountainous region of Belgium, and the other part is all about the seafood. And this is how they used to catch or harvest the little gray shrimp that inhabit the North Sea coast, and they would stuff the tomatoes with them, so you can see all that. I wrote about this because for a while I was teaching, and after I took a sabbatical from teaching, I was working doing a weekly travel article for the Brussels Bulletin, the Belgian Bulletin, and there's that showing the harvest of those shrimp, and then I was also writing about potatoes and other things. we were happy to see that the Belgian fruit stands had survived, modernized, and then this is, you want to talk about Milou real quick? Milou Wobbs was our landlady in a little town outside of Brussels. There she is with her animals and her favorite Aga cooker, and we had many wonderful meals with her at that table. And notice the parrot. So there's Milou and her brother, Jean-Francois Paquet. There we are. This, you can see it's Christmas time. There's the house which we rented. It was the gatehouse of this chateau. There's our house there, and here's her the chateau, the main house, and then her gardens to the east. You can see the extent of this property, and we were part of the of this whole environment. At that house was after we left, after the collection left the school, we set up the collection in the top floor of that house, and many journalists and other people came to see what we were doing. Also grew a lot of potatoes in the garden outside there, and with Jean-Francois Paquet's help, we grew, I don't know, you can see how many different varieties there are. What was wonderful about our trip
That was our hen.
yeah, Harold.
Harold.
Yeah. So our trip back to Belgium for
was-
Christmas 2006, we got to see that these varieties that we had been growing and that were kind of heirloom and kind of special were now very much celebrated and packaged and available. So look at these wonderful names on them. Back in the States, we continued to do our programs. The Chocolate Chilies Quarter More was a very popular one that we took all over the place. And here's another place where we did a program. We also continued traveling and studying the potato as much as possible in places named potato. Continued collecting. Here's the potato baskets, and this guy was doing this in England. And continuing collecting things. This, we were given very early examples of potatoes that were from the original, this archaeological site in Chile where the potatoes were the first evidence of people eating potatoes were found. We also enjoyed collecting unusual things about articles and stuff about the potato and these glass plate images. We actually started a whole new subject of collecting, postcards, which was not normally a collection. Here we are with a box of correspondence that we received, all sorts of things and letters that we sent out. Lots of interesting articles. This woman was asking us about how buttons used to be made out of potatoes. Now, in 2008, International Year of the Potato was declared by the UN to promote the idea that potatoes are a good food source for people around the world. And we were interviewed on National Public Radio.
And there are a host of other milestones and commemorations to note. 2008 is designated by the United Nations as the International Year of the Potato to focus attention on how the spud can help alleviate world hunger and poverty. Well, that brings a big hurrah from potato fans Meredith and Tom Hughes. They're co-founders of the Potato Museum, which boasts some 1,300 potato-related items.
Well, it apparently is the world's largest collection on the history and social influence of the potato, and it contains artifacts and artwork and flat art and advertising, tools, games, songs, photographs, a huge postcard collection.
Collected from all over the world. People have contributed, helped us discover all of these things, and 2008 we're hoping to establish a permanent home for all of us.
Yeah, we should say you run the Potato Museum, but the Potato Museum doesn't have a bricks and mortar place to call its own.
That's right. We're in talks with people in Italy, Estonia, Ireland, Peru, and also the state of Wisconsin about establishing a permanent home for our collection.
Well, Meredith, what would you say your favorite item out of all the things you've collected over the years? What's your favorite?
Well, we have a marvelous package of cigarettes, Spud cigarettes, which is quite unique. Although we are both non-smokers, totally.
Is there anything potato-y in them?
No, nothing at all. It's just the name. Somehow the name stuck. We also have one of the prototypes, an early Mr. Potato Head, before Mr. Potato Head was named that.
I like all the digging tools and implements that the hardworking people in Peru, foot plows they call them, and they do all the work with one plow.
What should we know about the greatness of the potato?
Well, the potato is really the most efficient form of converting land, water into nutritious food. It's the most versatile and valuable plant on Earth.
It only has about 100 calories. It's got no fat. It's a good source of potassium, vitamin C, and it's almost a perfect food like the egg.
So you would say that the International Year of the Potato, coming up here in 2008, this is an idea whose time has come.
You know, when we honor the potato, we honor ourselves. And the potato is one of the solutions for us, for this burgeoning population we have, and trying to also preserve our environment at the same time.
Well, Meredith and Tom Hughes, curators of the Potato Museum, I hope you have a great 2008. It's the International Year of the Potato.
We'll salute you with Spud liqueur.
Yeah, and in connection with all that, I organized a big conference at Smithsonian on the potato experts from around the world. And one of them was this friend of the Potato Museum, Carlos Archoa, who worked for SIP and was a wild potato hunter. And I hope you get to read this article. And in 2009, I think it was, we went to Alaska. And of course, we went to a potato farm. There I am. The mosquitoes were incredible. But then we got to go see the glaciers and other things. Meredith got so interested in Alaska foods that she created this Tumblr about it. And we're going to talk more about that in the next video, which is in 2010s. In 2007, I moved to Florida to teach at Florida's oldest prep school, fifth grade, and I got my students, of course, involved in potatoes. And I got involved in the food history of Florida and created this Tumblr about it and my travels around Florida, learning about Florida food history. And that ended up with this book, Eats Pinellas, which is a county that was where we were living, and it was a historic food growing area. And so for many years, still people passing through Denver Airport will notice that the Potato Museum is in Washington, D.C. It hadn't been there for years, but the idea was so memorable that this guy created this art installation, which included that. However, in 2009, late 2009, we were invited to be curators at a major exhibition at the Botanic Garden in Washington, the U.S. Botanic Garden. It was going to be called the Spuds on Earth. So that was going to be a return of the Potato Museum collection to Washington. And one of the features of that program, which we developed, was a potato science workshop. So, of course, I got my students in Florida to help me develop these science investigations. Here they are making electricity out of potatoes. So there's going to be much more in the next video about 2010s. And also we'll be talking about the books that we published, including this one, which was explaining the whole collection. So see you in our next video, 2010s. Thanks for watching. If you like these, don't forget to subscribe, leave us comments, and we'll see you again in the next show.